Fair to say there are those who wait for the daily glazing over of eyes when it comes to the never-ending and always entertaining Hillary Clinton saga. So let us not disappoint with even more emails and news about another questionable source of financing. He's the former presidential advisor who, if working now, would like to put at the top of his advice list: don't put anything incriminating into an email. Veteran political strategist, co-author of Power Grab, Obama's Dangerous Plan for a One-Party Nation, Dick Morris is back on the hard line. Fair to say that's good advice to start?
Yeah, but the better advice is release whatever you have. Whenever I used to work for the Clintons in the White House, the counsel, Quinn or whoever, would be saying, oh, we're not going to release this, we're not going to release that. And I would put on my best German accent, and I'd say, they all talk in the end. Spare yourself hours of pain and suffering.
Well, here we go with more.
Eventually, all of this stuff is going to come out, even the stuff that she's erased.
All of it. But now we're going back 5 years, Dick. I mean, could people think that this is a fishing expedition now?
No, they don't. As long as she erased it and won't produce it, and she was Secretary of State. Yeah, I mean, who cares about the year before she was in public office, but in public office. And she's crazy to think this stuff isn't going to come out. Those emails were all sent to somebody who can be subpoenaed. Their servers can be searched to see what it is. And I just think that Hillary has this faith in concealment that she's always had. And when I worked for her, I've always tried to disabuse her of it. I can't count the number of times I've told her, don't do this, you'll just get hit worse.
But what was her answer then, coming back?
Her answer was, oh, I'm going to hide it, I'm not going to do it. I remember one time when we were discussing whether she should release her tax return. And the Washington Post said that unless you do, we're going to push for a special prosecutor on the Whitewater scandal. And she refused to. And I kept pushing and pushing, she kept refusing. It's none of their business, it's blah, blah, blah. And finally, I gave up. And then a few years later, I found out why. She didn't want the insider trading of her $1,000 in the commodities market, where she made 100 to come to light, because the statute of limitations on prosecution of insider trading had not run yet. And the month it ran, the month she could no longer be prosecuted, bang, it was released.
So then let's get to this then. I mean, if it's not a fishing expedition, there's things there, you want to go after it. Is the plan then for Hillary Clinton and the campaign simply to say, you know, if I tie this up long enough, and if this goes to subpoenas, and if courts get involved, that it's going to go way past 2016, then I'm elected, I don't have to worry about a thing. I'll just hide it and it'll all get pushed back. That would seem to be the only logical way then to fight this.
God, what a stupid analysis that would be if that were an analysis.
But that would, seems to be it.
Because what in fact is going to happen is that Hillary's not going to fall crash. What's going to happen is other candidates will move up, like Sanders is. People will begin to think there are alternatives to Hillary, and they'll begin to get votes. Then Hillary will fade a little more in the polls, particularly vis-a-vis the Republicans. Then Democrats will say, oh my God, we have no alternative. Then Democrats will say, well, maybe we have an alternative and Hillary's doomed. And it'll be a reinforcing prophecy that goes on throughout the year. And to start it now, which her concealment of and erasure is done, it means that by the time the nominations happen, it could have run its course and she could be out of this.
I got about a minute and a half left here, but let me get on to Bernie Sanders. And you even talked about this in your column, where you're talking about he's getting momentum. But does he have enough momentum to really bring that number down to reality? And then there's Martin O'Malley. Doesn't he fit into this somewhere?
Well, I don't know how O'Malley's going to do. We need to see how his campaign does. But Bernie has been doing a masterful job, because instead of coming at Hillary the way a Republican would, over Benghazi and emails and all that, he's coming at Hillary from the left, over free trade, over NSA reform, over single payer and health care, raising taxes, and going after her from the left. And the Democrats kind of are inured to the ethics stuff, because Hillary's their only chance. But if they get a left-wing alternative, a lot of them are going to flake away. And Sanders gets that. Now, will he be enough to bring Hillary down? Probably not. But the better he does, the more likely it is that Elizabeth Warren comes in.
But she said no way.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Just like Bobby Kennedy said no way. But when Eugene McCarthy brought Lyndon Johnson back to earth in his poll numbers, Bobby Kennedy jumped in and Johnson jumped out. History could be repeating itself.
So I got 30 seconds here. Is it fair to say then that people on the left are a little bit upset, scared of Bernie Sanders because, hey, if you start getting momentum, then we really don't have anybody here. You're pushing out the one we need.
No, because they're seeing him as an alternative. They're
Really,
looking
real
at
alternative.
a possibility. They're looking at Elizabeth Warren as a real alternative. And the very fact that there is an alternative to her is encouraging. These folks are not the world's greatest pragmatists. They're left-wing ideologues for a reason. And Sanders is turning them on, giving them a chance to lash out against Wall Street and Hillary's connections with Wall Street, to run an ideological campaign against Hillary. That's the secret of what Sanders is doing.
This is just starting to get fun. I want to remind everybody, too, don't forget Power Grab. Obama's dangerous plan for a one-party nation, and it would seem to be dangerous to think that the Democrats actually have a plan here going forward. Stay with us. Thanks, Dick Morris. We will continue right here on the fastest 60 Minutes in News.